got a branded blue Bugatti with a perfect face and body. Like to speed and get real naughty.
All right, we are recording. I am honored to be talking to the exquisite That Kid, one of my favorite artists working right now, who just released a single called Boost Mobile featuring Tara Jr., which is amazing. And yeah, I'm just so happy to be talking with them right now. How you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm just chilling, like running on no sleep, but it's a vibe. How are you?
An eternal vibe of sleep deprivation.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much on the same wavelength. Kind of just like wrapping my head around sort of the world situation. I guess it's like a pretty exciting day overall for the country. Kind of a sense of relief. A lot of uncertainty still out there, but at least some sense of relief.
Yeah, it's definitely like there's definitely some sense of relief. Like it's just a lot more like we can breathe a little bit easier now, you know?
So I'm a massive fan of your music. Like I think you're one of the most exciting artists sort of working right now. You're also like constantly on my Twitter feed as well. And I love your Twitter. And I feel like, you know, it can be like pretty provocative, but you know, it's also funny. And it can also often be like very honest about sort of like where your current headspace is, which I appreciate. And from a sort of a listener's perspective, I feel like that Twitter, it's kind of like one element to what I think of as like the That Kid experience, because then as an artist, like your visual aesthetic, it's very colorful, it's glossy, it's like very in your face, sometimes sort of surreal, which then matches well with your musical style, which is like very maximalist and weird and poppy. And there's this kind of like awesome synergy that is occurring between your artistic output and your like vibrant online presence. So for those of you who like might not be hip to you yet, for those who might not be hip to you yet, I don't know if you want to just like in your own words describe what is the That Kid brand? What are you trying to present to the world?
The That Kid brand. You know, I guess my brand, it's in my Twitter bio. I'm America's favorite twink. You know, I guess like the actual brand, like to be like serious, it's just like taking like from the person, like from like a persona perspective, it's taking like the most obnoxious traits of my personality and turning it up to 100. And like I've always just been like really like wild on Twitter. So because I like grew up on Stan Twitter. So like I've had numerous Stan accounts. So it's just kind of like that's just like how I am at this point.
What are some of your Stan accounts in the past? Now I'm curious.
I was on K-pop Stan Twitter for most of my like okay, when did I first get Twitter? I first got Twitter when I was like 12.
Nice.
So I want to say I got into like I was into K-pop at that time, but I wasn't really using Twitter. So I want to say like 2013, 2014 is when I got really into like K-pop Stan Twitter. And then there was one time like in like I want to say like 2016, I had like an episode and I freaked out and I deleted like all of my social media and I vanished off the internet for like good for like I want to say like 8 months. Like I had no social media.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's like something that like I've like wanted to like attempt. And like I've like have really struggled to like there's always something like just stopping me right before like I just totally eliminate like social media. Like I'm always at the brink and then I'm like, oh, but like it's so like kind of necessary for so many things at this point. It's a very difficult thing.
Yeah, it is. It's hard because like I'm so like I love like social media, specifically Twitter. That is where I am constantly. Um, but
And
it's tricky.
it's difficult, especially like as an artist. It's such an important element to you, like presenting that brand and like connecting with your fans. So that kind of like leads into my next question because I'm sort of interested how that might connect with like how you like try to approach maybe sort of like this sort of stardom or just like having a public face? Because like when I listen to you and I see you, like I think of you as a pop star. Like you're a pop star. You know what I mean?
Oh, thank you.
Like for sure, and like it's apparent to me. So I'm sort of be curious if that's something you think about, because I feel like the parameters of what a pop star is have just so shifted dramatically, even within the past like 5, 6 or so years. And so I'd be curious how you maybe tackle that concept for yourself.
I mean, I don't really think of myself as like a pop star yet. I feel like, you know how when you like buy like a video game, or like not before you buy a video game, but like you know how they'll have like the trial version where you don't get all the features.
The demo, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like right now I'm like in the demo. I'm like,
You're trying
like,
it out.
Yeah. Like I'm trying really hard.
Okay, so then what would be the vision? Like what if you get to the point where you really feel like you've actualized that for yourself, what would that look like?
I think it would be like doing like huge tours and like, you know, getting like, I don't, maybe not getting signed. Getting signed would be really cool, but like, just that like really like intense cult following, that would like, that's when I'd be like, oh shit, okay.
Right. And like, but I feel like it's kind of like already, it's kind of like it's happening though, because, and that's why I feel like you can, you can be sort of, you can represent sort of pop stardom even with not having like, having been signed or having like hundreds of millions of listeners, like, because through the internet, like you have these like these maybe niche, smaller fan bases that are like very passionate. And that's how I kind of feel about you now, and like your fan base now, they're very passionate about what you're doing. So, and like you kind of now like kind of like are that to these people. And I think you're doing it in such a genuine way. And like I feel like that's cool, because the internet sort of like allows artists or pop stars to like really kind of be more themselves, I think, because there's not like an expectation to be trying to fit the standards of millions and millions and millions of people necessarily.
Yeah.
However, I do think you are on that trajectory, if I'm being quite honest. I feel like it's only a matter of time.
Fingers crossed.
I mean, just like you're just a part of this like sort of weird pop music aesthetic that's just becoming more popular like every month, it seems. So I feel like it's only a matter of time before it's like becomes majorly recognized. So pop stardom in the future, but in terms of the past, when was the moment that for you that like you decided like this, like you really wanted to focus on music as a career, or you thought like, oh, this is something that I could really do?
So like growing up, I would always do music. Like I started when I was like 14. I wasn't really like posting any of it online because it was like bad. It was like bad up until I was like, I want to say like 17, 18. Like it was just like unlistenable. But I want to say like around the time I don't remember, like my sixth single dropped, Booty Call, was when I kind of like Dial Tone came out, and I kind of like was like, oh, I should like see if I can like make this into something. But then like I lost my job. I was working at a mall and I lost my job. And I was like, okay, well, music is the only like, money I'm making. And then I got like a paycheck that was like way bigger than what I like had ever made working at the mall. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
That's cool though. It's like you were like in, as you sort of said, like around the sixth single, you say it was kind of like when you're like, oh, okay, oh shit. But then, you were kind of in that demo state, like Dial Tone. It's such for like an official debut single, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, but it's such an impressive, like from a musical perspective, and then also from just like who you're collaborating with for a debut single. It's such like a big, bold statement. And it's interesting how you say it, like, and then it's kind of interesting and cool how you try something out and then you're like, oh shit, I might be good at this. Maybe this is something I can do. And it kind of sounds like you were in the demo stage, and then maybe later down the road you were like, okay, no, this is for me.
Yeah, it's very much so that, because it's like I'd always been like really passionate about music, and I always like I would literally come home from like when I was like starting out, like when I was like 14, I'd come home and I'd record like 4 songs a day. Like I was working a lot on music, but like I just didn't think it was like realistic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like I was like, okay, I don't know if I'm gonna do music anymore. And then I was like, okay, wait, let me just like try. And then dial tone happened, and then I was like, okay, let me be a little serious. And then I was like, okay, now I have to be serious.
Obviously, you've been making music for a few years now. I mean, a bunch of years now. But 2020 kind of, I mean, from my perspective, it kind of felt like it was a really huge year for you. Obviously, it was a shit year in many ways for the world. But from a artist standpoint, I really feel like a lot of people like really like gravitated towards you in that year. And I don't know if you felt a sort of a tangible difference in the direction that this whole thing was headed for you, and sort of a bump in sort of recognition over the past year.
Yeah, I mean, I think like again, I feel like it was really like Crush that kind of set that off.
Yeah.
Because like I remember when I first posted like the like as I was like starting to like build up hype, and I was like dropping like promo pictures and stuff like that. People were like the promo pictures would get like 4K likes or something, and I'd be like, why does this, like, what is going on? And then it was like the music came out, and people were like, oh, I'm gonna listen to, because like I think he's pretty, and I was like, okay. And like people really like started to latch on, and I was really happy about that, because it was like I felt like it would have taken me like another 2 years to get like where I am now. And so I'm like, oh, this came to me like a lot quicker than I expected. It was nice.
Yeah, I mean, but isn't, but what, I'm sure it was like such an amazing validation too, like over a course of, years of working to like suddenly have to be recognized in such a way. But I guess, as you said, like it was kind of exponential. And was there kind of like a shock factor at first, like, or was it something that you kind of like were ready for?
It was a little scary, but I was also like totally ready for it at the same time.
Yeah.
I think like once I like got like my managers and stuff, because I like never had managers before, it kind of really like picked things up too, because they came, like my manager Zoe and Will, they came on board like the week after Crush came out.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, this is like getting serious.
Yeah.
And like I was suddenly getting thrown into like sessions with like these producers, and I was like, whoa. And like online shows, like people were like, do you want to do this online show? Do you want to do? I was like, yeah.
It's like, I mean, that's so cool though. And just to, I mean, to sort of be just, I guess, thrusted into that environment, but like, as it's cool that you kind of like have been taking it in stride. Cause I feel like for some people, like if they're not ready for that moment, it can be like, just like overwhelming. Just like, wow, there's so much happening around me right now that like I'm not necessarily prepared for. So I think that's really cool. But like, yeah, let's talk Crush for a second, because I mean, I fucking love that mixtape. I fucking love it. And like, it's one of my favorite projects of 2020. And I really can't speak more highly of it. Like there's so many bops. There's just so many bops. And I know I'm not the only one that's reacted to it in this way. So I don't know, how do you feel about the mixtape's reception? Like, are you happy with it?
I'm very happy with it. I like didn't expect that at all. Like I was like telling my friends, I was like, oh, I'll be happy if like 10 people listened to it. Like, I'm not really thinking too much about it. But I was like wanting it to be really good because it was like more so like it was more so like a project for me. Like, I'm just gonna be honest. Like, I was like,
Mhm.
I want to like make something like I can like look back on in 5 years and be like, wow, I made a mixtape. Like, what?
Mm.
Um, but yeah, the reception was great. It was like really fun working on it. Like, I had a great time making all of those songs.
And like it sounds like you it just like it comes through like throughout, it just sounds like you're having a blast, like, and I think that's such a rare, I think that's part, I mean, outside of just like the many incredible things about the project, that's something for me that's just so refreshing listening to it,
Mm.
listening to your music in general, but really on that project you just like sound like you're having a blast, and like it just reflected on each song, and it like just like especially over the course of like this of 2020 dealing with everything, it's like, oh shit, I'm just gonna go listen to Crush real quick, and feel better,
Yeah.
feel better about myself, you know what I mean? And like that's such a powerful, amazing thing. And so thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
So what was your first reaction when you initially heard the Kiss Me Through the Phone beat? Because I get like literal chills every time I hear that like initial synth melody, like that, like I get chills. Like it's like, oh my God. Because it's such a throwback, but like it feels so new at the same time. It's like the perfect update. So like I'd be curious how you felt when you first got that mix.
When I first got it, I was like, okay, time to record. Like, I was just like, time to like get to work. Like, I think that was like my first instinct. Like,
Yeah.
okay, we got it, let's go. Because like there's like there was like a whole list of things that needed to be done, like for each like month that like the project was being worked on. So it would be like, okay, like get like beat for Kiss Me Through the Phone. 2 days like after it was on the list, got that. And I was like, okay, go record it so that way I can be ahead of the schedule.
Mm.
So yeah, it was like instantly just like I need to record this. I didn't expect it to be like the song people like freak out about from Crush, but I'm glad.
It's just like such a, I mean, obviously such a amazing and massively popular song and
Mhm.
originally, and like just like the way you like work it is just like, it's just so fucking, like, again, it gives you me chills because like the way you like at the very end when it and then you come in and I'm just like, oh my God, like I need this live right now, like I need this live, I need to see this in concert right now. And yeah, I mean it's just incredible. So like was it your idea to like, I don't know, do you consider a cover, like what do you, how do you approach it? Because it's like it's very much your own song, but like obviously it takes a lot of inspiration from the original Soulja Boy track. So I don't know, how do you interpret your performance or your interpretation of the song?
A cover, a rework, I don't know. I
Mm.
was just kind of like, because when I originally pitched the idea, I was like, oh, we should work on like a cover of Kiss Me Through the Phone. And like I was like, it was like either that or like Buy You a Drink by T-Pain. So
Oh, that's a tough one. That's those are like two like very definitive songs. I mean, I'm actually gonna ask you about. I'm curious about sort of your favorites from that era, but like those two are like very like. So that's an interest. How? Why did you land on "Kiss Me Through the Phone"? Then was it just kind of intuitive, or was there like a?
okay, so obviously Dial Tone, and
Yeah.
then like some people might know this song. I don't think a lot of people do know this song, but there was like a song that used to be on my SoundCloud like in 2017, called Call Me,
Mm.
which was another phone song. And then I had like a bunch of other unreleased phone songs. So I was like, this feels natural.
Yeah. It's a. I see. So so it really does kind of like make meld into the sort of that kid thematic universe that you've been creating over the past several years. Okay, I fuck with that as an explanation. Actually, I think that's sick.
Yeah.
So then, like, was that your favorite song to make? And if not, like, what was your favorite song to make? Or if you just have a favorite song from the project in general? I know you've talked about this on Twitter, but now if you can reiterate it for
7 Minutes in
Yeah.
Heaven. I go so hard for that song. That song is like, okay, first of all, that song flew out of my body. Like I like first when I got that beat, like when I got the beat, I started crying. Like I like it's like I cry when I hear really good music
Mhm.
and I like teared up. Like I was like genuinely like I was like on the couch and like I was like with my mom or something and I got the beat and I was like I just started crying. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna write the song. And then flew out of my body and I was like, wow, this is the best song ever.
That's incredible. I mean, I love that song. I love every song on the project. And again, I guess I feel like it's just like it really does kind of feel like you're just like you're so in the moment. Like it's such an immediate visceral like reaction, like listening to that song and to like the project as a whole. I feel like I can't get over it. It's just so cool. My favorite Spells on You. I mean, I just love it. I just love it so much. Not that you cared about my favorite, but no, it's just
Now I want to know.
yeah. Yeah, no, I just think it's like amazing, like every aspect of that. Also think Spectacular is really underrated. I feel like it's a little bit underrated. And I that might be like after that they're kind of equal to me, but like Spectacular I think is like just the beat and just like your melody on there is just like in like it's just like
It sounds good. That one is like oh, that one sounds so good. I love that one.
yeah, no more BS like me trying to be music critic describing these things.
No, go for it.
It's just good. Like it is though. It's just like on the most like most like primal level. It's just fucking sick. You know what I mean? So again, I really feel like the project was this awesome, like fleshed out representation of that like this bubbly experimental Y2K sound that you've been developing and recontextualizing over the past several years and like taking those 2000s pop and R&B sounds and sort of like really like appropriating them in like a really interesting way and sort of like in this kind of like futuristic framework too, which I think is really cool. But I'm curious sort of like what draws you to this style in the first place.
I think I just like I don't even know if it was like a conscious thing. I just kind of like whenever I like message producers like or like I'm in sessions, I'm like, can we make something like kind of like crazy? And then like it just happens. I feel like I don't know. I like really do have like a love for the 2000s, but like you know how people will be like, "Oh, Y2K." Like I've never like called myself Y2K because I never like
Right.
I don't know. I have like a weird thing with it. Like I love like looking back on things and like, oh, that was like really good. But I don't know. I don't know how to describe it like eloquently.
No, eloquence can be thrown out the window. We're not eloquent around here. We pretend to be eloquent, but we're not actually
Yeah.
eloquent. But yeah, I mean that's cool. You kind of just like vibe with it. Like it's not necessarily something I don't know if I'm catching on to what you're saying, but like it might not be something that you necessarily identify with, but like you just very much, I don't know, feel the vibe or enjoy that era's artistic output.
Yeah, and I think like maybe part of it is because like my general role is I like to make music I want to listen to. So perhaps like that just like I'm like subconsciously like pulling from, that time period. So
then like what do you think would be sort of a defining song or artist from that era? Or if you have like a few examples.
a defining song.
Yeah, defining or even just your favorites, but like I don't know if you like have thought about that, like yes, this represents like this time in music.
Okay. I can't think of like a defining song.
Yeah, okay. Some of your
That's
favorites.
that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I know. I realized after I said that, I was like, okay, I don't know how you're supposed to think of that on the spot.
But okay. One of my favorites has always been Brooke Hogan, her song Handcuffed,
Mm,
like that song just sounds so good.
mm,
Um, Tila Tequila had some like really fun music. Um, there was like one song, like she's not my friend anymore, but like one of my old friends and I, we used to like play this one song called I Love You. I don't know if you've ever heard. Have you heard that one?
I don't know if I know that one.
She's just like going off. It's like it's a lot. It's an experience. So we
Yeah.
like listen to that constantly. I think that was like 2010 though, so I don't know if that counts. But like
It's all what time is doesn't make any sense. It's all the same.
yeah. Obviously stuff from like Crime Mob. Um I love like Trina, Soulja Boy,
Mm,
like a lot of those like acts, like Lil Mama.
yeah.
Like I thought she was like a genius.
Mm.
Like a lot of like that kind of music.
Yeah.
Just like
I mean, it's so cool though. Do you get like an enjoyment? Like, is it fun to sort of like think about sort of the music that you grew up on and be like, oh, I'm going to like make it. I'm gonna make something in this vein. I'm gonna make something in this vein. Like, is that like a fun process?
yeah, I mean it's definitely really fun. Oh, I forgot to mention Lady Gaga.
Okay, yeah, of course.
You
She
can't
killed
not
she
mention
killed it.
Gaga. I just like that's just like flashed in my head.
She killed it today. She absolutely murdered that shit
Yeah.
at the inauguration.
Um,
Sorry.
no, you're good. I was just like thinking, I was like, I don't know, like I really don't have any thoughts when I'm creating about like what I'm doing. I'm just like, okay, make a song. Like it's just like some kind of thing like programmed into my brain of just like go make a song today.
You heard it here first, folks. That kid, thoughtless creative process, just zero thoughts.
Just do it.
Yeah, that's amazing. So your official debut was Dial Tone. I mean, to a certain extent, I don't know if you consider it your official debut, but it's a song that people can go back to the farthest on streaming services, and it features two kind of legends in the scene that you're working Slater and Aisha. So I'm just kind of like curious how for like that song kind of earlier in your career you were able to kind of set up that collaboration.
So I like I knew Aisha from SoundCloud like before I met Slater. We like messaged on SoundCloud. It was just like, oh hey, I like your music, and that was like kind of it. And then like I met Slater in a group chat. Same group chat I actually met Glitch Mood in, who's done a lot of stuff for both of us at like the same time, which is like crazy. So we met in this group chat and like she had her like early stuff out. I had like a few early stuff out too. And then like I was like, oh, like why don't I just like hit up like Aisha for a beat and then hit up Slater to feature, and like it just kind of happened. Like it was really just like Twitter, like literally just like following like them on Twitter and just being like, okay, we're all like mutual, so.
And it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, just like the importance, like on not from a entertainment perspective, but also from just like a almost require like a you never know what's going to happen if you might miss out on something if you're removed from social media, like, and like that's crazy to think that like you were connected on Twitter and that like led to like this amazing song and sort of like kickstarted like everything that happened after. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, it was definitely like a really just like organic collab. Well, as organic as you can get on the internet.
Right. Which surprise you'd be. I mean, I think people are realizing can be as organic sounding as most studio sessions can be, and like especially during the pandemic when that's the only way to collaborate. It's like, okay, then why do we do it? Why don't we ever meet in a physical space ever? Like, what is the point?
I mean, like, I have always worked online.
Yeah.
I've never recorded in a studio. I've been in a studio once, and I was like too scared to record. I was like, no, I'm not recording here.
Yeah, I mean, imagine it be kind of intimidating as opposed to just sort of like being in your own room, like set up, just like in your own space. Like can only imagine just like the difference in just how those environments affect like your ability to really like be yourself. I think that that's probably true.
Yeah. So I'm like, I love the virtual sessions. I think they're fantastic. I know some people are not feeling them and are like trying to get like used to it, and like because some people like they mainly record in like studios, so they're like getting adjusted to like recording at home or like doing online sessions, and I know it's like a big shift for a lot of people, but for me this is just like how it's kind of always been.
Yeah. So it's interesting then how like because like the genre slash community movement, whatever that you're kind of a part of, it like really sprung from internet, SoundCloud, online community building. So you guys in many ways we're so much more prepared for this than someone that maybe came up in a more traditional sort of environment. And I think that's true in many different ways. It's like in terms of online shows as well. Like this is something that the internet like music community has been doing for years, and now it's like something that's so big. So I think it's interesting how you guys were kind of prepared for this moment and to really capitalize on it and like catapult your careers even in a time when basically everything came
Yeah,
to a halt.
I mean it's definitely like it sucks because like I would have loved to like go out and
Yeah.
perform
Yeah,
live
of
and
course.
like all that wonderful stuff.
Yeah.
But like I'm very grateful that I can still do it online, and
Yeah.
you know, a lot of people ha- have only ever worked online. I'm someone who's only really worked online. You see that with like a lot of the like younger artists in the scene. Like,
Yeah.
not that I'm not young, I'm 22, I'm still pretty young, but like, you know, like these are people who've like only ever worked online.
Yeah.
So it's nice, and I feel like in a way it gives like, you know, kind of like the underdogs like more of a fair chance.
Yeah, and it's just cool. Like, yeah, it really does. It really kind of did give a space for like a lot of like maybe artists that like wouldn't have had a as much of a chance to blow up in like a normal year to like really like take advantage kind of take advantage of the fact that like nobody's got much to do other than kind of go online and like go on Twitter and listen to and like listen to the music and consume media and
Yeah.
like and I think when it catapulted this hyper pop scene, and I think that's a part of why. But I think overall, like, if there's any silver lining to this, you know, it's a lot of good music came out of this year.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like that was like for a while I was like, why are my like listeners going up so much? And I was like, we're all stuck inside. That's why. We're all inside.
Yeah. But you know, it's gonna even go crazier. You know, once those live shows come up, and there's gonna be like
I,
people are gonna like take videos. It's gonna be like that kid at so and so venue, blah blah blah, 2021, and people
I
are gonna,
can't wait for shows to come back. Not even just to like perform, but just to go to them,
of
because
course,
like
yeah.
my best friend Asia and I, like we were going to concerts constantly. There was like one week she wasn't there. She only went to one, I think, but I went to like 5 concerts in a week or something. Like
That's
I was going to them a lot because
Yeah, I mean they're amazing, but I consider myself someone that goes to a lot of concerts. But 5 in a week sounds intense.
yeah, it's like I was going to like concerts, and then I was also like I want to say like earlier this year, like late last year, like
Yeah,
before like or well, not earlier this year, we're in 2021, but
yeah.
like you know what I mean,
Like a week ago, I was going to
like
like 6 concerts. So
yeah, like no, like I'm talking like 2020, like very early
yeah,
2020, or like you know like lockdown and everything,
yeah,
and late 2019, I was like really starting to get like more involved with like the DIY punk scene
mm,
here too as well. So it wasn't just like these big concerts. I was like going to like shows at like
right,
DIY venues and like house shows and
right,
stuff
right,
like
right.
that.
Okay, yeah, okay, I got you. And that wasn't a judgment at all. It was more of like a wow. I'm impressed, and like I kind of wished I had that that ability to like or that stamina to like go to like mad concerts, because like that is like really where I like thrive. I thrive in those spaces, in these collective like spaces. Like we're all there. Like I don't really like I like clubs or whatever. Like on occasion, like it's okay. Like I don't dislike clubs, but I really like the thing about concerts. You know, everyone is there, not just to like vaguely sort of dance with each other to music that you may or may not be interested in, but you're all there for one purpose, to see this artist or to be a part of this community for the same reason. You can like bond over that, even if you don't talk to anyone. It's kind of like in the air, and you're like, I think that that's something that like I've been deprived of, or we've all been deprived of, and like it's gonna be nice. It's gonna be nice when it returns.
Yeah, I think for me, like I love like concerts, just I love seeing live music. But like also I love to party. I love, like, you know that Lady Gaga video where she was like, club, club, another club, show. Like, that was me. Like I love going to clubs. I love going to shows. I love house. Like I loved a good house party. I obviously like you can't really go to one, and but I like to go out and I like to dance.
Not to stroke your ego any more than I have over the course of this interview, but I have a sort of a dream of, once this is over, I'm gonna like, by the time this is done, I'm gonna like have at least some proficiency in DJing, and like I want to like DJ house parties, and I have like I like have come up with like a set list that I'm going to use, and I have the Frax remix of Go Fast on there. I have Boost Mobile on there too, and also have Skater Boy on there. So like, oh no,
3 hits
and Kiss Me Through the Phone, because I feel like it would be sick to like transition into that, like, and then and everyone's gonna go crazy, and then it's like gonna be you, and it's gonna be like, oh my god, what is this?
Like they're like, what is this?
Yeah.
What is this version?
And then it's gonna go, and then they're gonna come out to me, and they're gonna be like, yo man, what is this song? I'm like, oh, it's that kid, like it's a crazy version, and they were like, oh, sick, you know, like,
yeah, they're gonna love it.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on, let's talk about the new single, Boost Mobile. A bop and a half. It grooves. It has a lot of those like bright synthy layers and smooth melodies that we've come to expect from you so far, and it's produced by Underscores, and who also produced your Skater Boy double single, which is awesome. It also features Tara Jr., who I think are underrated as fuck, for one.
Yes.
So underrated. Like those Bop City tapes were just like they're, in my eyes, they're like almost like modern classics, and like they're not. I don't know. That's a big term, but like
they're really good.
They're really good. And I think like their influence on like what's happening now isn't really like appreciated really at all, or talked about, or at least not enough. So I think that's cool. And I don't know, was it a collaboration with, I think it's just 2 people now, but was it a collaboration with both of them, or was it just Lisa?
It was like mainly me reaching out to Lisa. Obviously, like I love David. Like he knows this. I have been a fan of him like since middle school. Right. I'm talking like, because I was a huge Dev fan. So I got into the Cataracts. And I was obsessed with the Cataracts. And then I got obsessed with him. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's so good. And like I remember one time, like I was like 15 and I met him in an airport or something. And like I was like, oh my gosh. And he was like, you know who I am? And I was like, yes.
And he's like, what?
Yeah. And so I've been following like his projects. So when Tara Jr. came out, I was like, oh, this is so good. Because like Lisa is an amazing writer, an incredible singer. And I was kind of like, okay, I really want to work with them. And like we tried to once in the past, but like that song didn't really like work out. So I was like, okay, I have this really good song. I want to feature on it. So I just like was like, hey, hello, please first.
Dear Tara Jr.
Exactly.
I have a
Literally.
proposition for you.
Literally, I was just like, okay, let me just like DM and just
Yeah.
see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Worked
I
out.
really love that song.
Yeah. And do you feel like you've kind of, I mean, this is now, I guess, the second time you've worked with Underscores, and do you feel like, is the second time? I don't want to be like misquoting. Like from my knowledge, it's at least this is the second release that you, other than the Skater Boy double single, and then
Yeah,
this. Okay.
this is the second release. Continue with your question.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's more in the works, but I feel like you've kind of found like a natural like sonic chemistry with his production style. So like, I don't know if
Yeah.
you feel that way as well.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
Literally, like, Underscores is one of my favorites to work with. I like we have 2 unreleased tracks actually. But and we're working on more. I literally like because we had talked about working back in like 2019. And yeah, we just didn't for whatever reason. I think we both got like really busy. And then my managers, like when they were starting to put me in like sessions with people, like, oh, how would you feel about like doing something with Underscores? I was like, yes, let's do it.
Yeah.
And then like we just like made like we worked on the beats for Skater Boy and Look at Me like in the same session. And then I like went away, recorded, did my thing, and we were both like, okay, these songs are like really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we just kept working.
Yeah. And, I mean, they blew my mind because I felt like it was like an evolution of your sound.
Yeah. I mean, like my thing is it's like I love just finding like really like cool producers. Like I've done like or like even if it's just like a Twitter mutual, like I'll like be like, hey, like maybe we should try something. Like
Yeah.
that's kind of like how like I like did it like Guppy and I have like worked on stuff together that's like not out. But that was like from me just being like, hey, we should do a song. Or like I'll literally just like or like Alice Gas, like that was just like, hey, can I buy a beat? Like literally just like hitting people up.
Yeah.
Like, I like to work with like I don't know, I like to just find people and work.
So then where's that pedal supply collab? I don't know if it's being speculated. I know it's being speculated by me because I'm an avid follower of both of you. So I don't know where's that in the mix, if it's anywhere.
I love Pedal Supply.
Yeah.
I know it'll happen. It's like I got close to like because I got close to Alice and Pedal at the same time and like Luvox and like Kevin Hilfiger, like a bunch of those people, because Luvox invited me to like a Discord server. He was like, you should come hang out on one of our servers. And I was like, okay. And so like I like talk to these people all the time. And I know it's gonna happen because I think Pedal Supply is just like she is amazing.
I'm so excited for her and like what she's doing because it's like it really feels like an extension to sort of that PC music era sort of stuff and like what they were doing and like and what Sophie was doing back in the mid 2010s. And like I feel like the scene had kind of veered away from sort of that in a lot of ways, and I think that like she's like bringing that back in like a really like amazing way, and it's like totally like still herself, and like it's super, like the sound design is crazy.
Yeah,
like just everything about that like her instrumentals and like the way she like uses her voice too is just like it's crazy.
She's like a genius to me, honestly. Like she could like she'll send me something and she'll be like, oh, this is like not finished, and I'll be like, this is amazing.
Yeah, it's already wait, this is your unfinished song.
Right, I'm like, this sounds amazing.
And she's Canadian, which is always it's always good.
Yeah,
As I'm half Canadian, I guess, so whenever as a half Canadian, I'm required to always like admire like Canadian artists, because if you have Canadian blood, you have to be like proud of
You just
like,
have to like root for them, you know.
and that she's like in Victoria, BC, of all places. It's just like it's like this like little island. I don't know that much about the geography, but it's kind of like in British Columbia, sort of like doing its own thing. And I think like it's cool that she's from there. Very beautiful. But yeah, Pedal Supply, awesome. Okay, so this is the dreaded part of the interview where I kind of have to bring up hyperpop. And I know nobody really wants to talk about it because it's such a controversial word nowadays that like has kind of like become cringe to a certain extent, but like it's also just a part of music culture in a way that like also can't be ignored. And especially because I feel like, you're in that scene in many ways. You've worked with a bunch of artists from this scene, like in the contemporary scene, and also like from the past. Like you worked with Slater, you've worked with Liz, Ayesha, obviously, Moist Breezy, Holiday How. So like, and also from an aesthetic perspective, you do kind of fit into what's going on in a lot of ways. So even if it's sort of more of in that Y2K pop side of things, but I don't know, do you consider yourself hyperpop? Like, is that something that's a label you would put on yourself?
I honestly okay. My thoughts on hyperpop are controversial. I am going to be the artist who has the most controversial take.
Okay.
It's not that controversial.
It's like, oh, shit. Oh my fuck. What the hell?
But I honestly okay. Hyperpop itself is not a bad word. I think like for some people, it's when people are very I guess analytical of it. It kind of makes people go, no. But I honestly don't think it's a bad term. I think it's fine. I think I get that some people do not want to be called that, because some people in the scene are like, they're rappers and they consider what they're doing rap and they're being called hyperpop. But then some of these people are rappers, but they do consider themselves hyperpop. There are singers who are just making pop music get called hyperpop.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm just kind of like, if someone wants to be hyperpop, then they can be hyperpop. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I totally see it. There is that sort of debate whether like, is it something that should just be embraced, or is it something that like should be fought against? I think what a lot of people don't even know or understand is that it's a word that's existed, it's a term that's existed for at least like 8 years. Like it was something that was used to describe this kind of music, like within in the PC music sort of days, like 2013, 2012, like that sort of deconstructed club bubblegum bass stuff. Like the hyperpop was a descriptor for that kind of music. Like on one hand, like it is a fitting term for the kind of music that is that exists within it. So it's like, but do you think it's fair that artists sort of are getting lumped into this label, like sort of against their will at times? Or does like not really matter? It's just something that just it is.
I think it's really just something that it is, because this happens with like every like upcoming genre. Like I remember there was one Unicorn Kid. I remember I think he said it on like his Tumblr like ages ago when he was still active, or it was like an interview or something where he was like, I'm not C-Punk, but everyone kept calling him C-Punk because like that's what like his sound, like I don't want to say that's what he was making, but like
right,
like the aesthetic and like all of this kind of stuff, and like the stuff he was like, the artist he was like coming up with at the time. And this happens with like every genre. Like we had like vaporwave, and I'm sure there are people in there who did not want to be called vaporwave. It is what it is.
Yeah.
It's like, I feel like for the people who don't want to be called it, I get that. I fully do. For the like, I'm sure like to them it might feel like limiting or like, you know, whatever, but to me it's just like this is what happens with music that comes up in any like kind of subculture
Yeah.
underground theme.
Yeah. Totally. No, I get that 100%. I don't really have, as someone that's not really an artist, I'm like pretty impartial. I kind of like take the lead from what people are saying, and there's just so many different opinions out there. It's like it's become such a like a whirlwind of ideas. And but yeah, I think it's like a decent approach to it, because it's like it is sort of is what it is at the end of the day, and it is like it's a fitting term.
Yeah.
I think like a source of anger for so many people is like the fact that like it's become, the term has been sort of co-opted by Spotify. And I think a lot of people are kind of frustrated because it was a DIY internet music scene
Yeah.
that a company has now swooped into and kind of has commodified and monetized for their own benefit, while like a lot of the artists that might even be included on the playlist, you know, might not even be getting paid, you know, a lot at all. Some are doing really well, but then a lot aren't. So I don't know. Do you have any strong feelings on the playlist and the various sort of politics that might be surrounding it? It's totally cool if you don't, but
Honestly, I'm gonna keep it real. I like the playlist when they playlist me.
yeah.
I'll just like I'll like I like when I get playlisted, I'm like, ooh. But again, I get that like to some, because I feel like with a lot of like underground cultures, you know, people want to keep it underground. Some people want to take it big, of course. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really think too much about the hyper pop playlist. I'm just kind of like, it's there. I remember people got like, I don't know.
Yeah.
People have their thoughts on it.
Yeah, people will continue to have their thoughts. It's just it's a really tough one that I don't necessarily think has one easy answer, because at the end of the day, like it does really good for a lot of artists. It platforms a lot of artists that wouldn't have otherwise. So it's a really just
it's a sticky situation.
Yeah.
I think like I don't know.
Yeah, and it'll be a conversation that continues and probably won't come to any like satisfying resolution in the near future. But
oh yeah, definitely.
The discourse is important, I think, to have the conversation about, you know, thinking about these things. But so how do you feel about the direction of the movement in the first place? Like, do you find it like going in a promising? Obviously, you're a part of sort of its emergence in amongst the cultural consciousness in a lot of ways. So I don't know if how do you feel about it as sort of a broad movement in the direction that it's headed?
I think it's like I don't know. I think it's kind of cool. I feel like it's such a like a vast genre of music, and not only that, well, it's I just feel like so many of the artists in the scene are just out of this world talented, and I think even if it's not like the entire scene goes up, and like a few artists from like this little corner of it and a few artists from this little corner just go up and become huge. I think that's great because it's like there are so many like young, talented like people who are just working incredibly hard, and I feel good. I feel good about it. I feel really optimistic about a lot of people's futures.
Yeah, me too. And I mean, I'm a big fan of so much of this this music, and it's almost like sad to see like fighting happening sometimes, because you know it's such an amazing thing that's going on right now, and so much talent, like you said, and like I think like it's only a matter of time before, you know, I mean, artists are already getting plucked by major labels, and I think it's only it's only a matter of time before like it really crosses over into sort of mainstream pop culture, and like you see artists like, I don't know, like big artists like really sort of adopting these aesthetics.
Oh, definitely.
It already is happening. I think like Billie Eilish is like someone that's like like it's already, you can see like sort of the weirder kind of like more experimental ish sort of stuff like really popping off, and like that comes from hyperpop. It really does. So I think it's it's trend setting, and I think it's another, it's very much of the times too, because it's a genre and a movement that, you know, was in many ways founded and dominated by LGBTQ people, and like, and because of that, I think like it's amazing that like the community can like really like get a spotlight and get the recognition that they deserve. It's like kind of about time, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And that's like one of my like favorite like things about the scene. It's like it's very like LGBTQ friendly, and like I just feel like that's like a space that's like really needed in music right now. So it's nice to see that happening. So yeah, hyper pop. I like it.
It's sick. It's cool. It like hype hop the best. Is the best.
Hyper pop is epic.
Cool. I mean that's really it for me. I mean, well, you working on it? Like what's next for that kid? What can we expect?
I am dropping more singles, and then I have something in the works. It's not a full project before everyone, or it's not like an album, but there's something in the works. It's very different from what I usually do. So I'm really excited. I think people are going to be kind of like shocked a little bit. They're going to be like, oh my gosh. Collabs are happening right now. So yeah, cool stuff.
Well, sick. That's awesome. I'm amped. I'm excited for it all. If there's anything else that you would like to add, like this is your floor to just speak it into existence.
Okay. Hello, viewers. Please go stream my new song, Boost Mobile, featuring Tara Jr., produced by Underscores. It's very good. Also, follow me on Twitter at @ittisthatkid.
In the description.
Yeah, it's going to be in the description. Also, my Instagram. And yeah, that's it. That's it. Just promoting myself.
Beautiful. Mwah. Chef's kiss. Mwah. Wonderful. All right, cool. Thank you so much again. This has been That Kid, just a wonderful person and musical artist that everyone should check out, should just like be listening to immediately. Because if you're not, you're just fucking up. You're just fucking up.
You're not doing it right.
You're just living your life wrong. You know, everyone. You know how everyone's like, no, there's no wrong way to live life. But then it's like, okay, if you're not listening to That Kid, like you're doing
you're doing yourself an injustice.
Yeah. All right, cool. All right, so I'll stop recording now, and then we can like sign off. Okay. Just officially. But